When we talk about the Honda Civic Hybrid, it's all fun and games. We love that car. It's an affordable, economical daily driver. But the second those back doors disappear, expectations are raised. The stakes are higher. And to soften the blow of those expectations, Honda tells me this new 2026 Honda Prelude is a grand touring car. Underneath is effectively a Honda Civic Hybrid. So to lower your expectations before we go for a drive, I'm gonna tell you right out of the gate, it has the same hybrid system as the Honda Civic and no manual transmission. What do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy. Honda doesn't want you to compare this to the GR86, the GR Corolla, all those other cars that you might want to compare this to, the GTI, the Golf R included, will all rev their engines in neutral. Now let's see if, when I put this in neutral, it will rev. Nope. Getting off the line here, it's quiet, it's smooth. This two-motor hybrid system makes 200 horsepower, 232 pound-feet of torque. Yeah, if you're comparing stats with the 5th gen Prelude, the last Prelude that was in production in 2001, this has the same amount of power as that car. But before we can talk more about this powertrain, first we got to figure out how quick the Prelude is. We'll stick it in sport mode. We've got normal, GT, which is the default every time you start up the car, and then sport. I'm assuming sport's the quickest. We'll just mat it and see what happens. It's doing fake shifts. That's 60 miles an hour. I wish it was 90. It's not quick. This two-motor hybrid system works with an eCVT. That's what Honda calls it. It feels like a CVT. What you need to know is that the electric propulsion motor is what you're feeling the whole time when you stab the gas pedal, okay? The only time this gasoline 2-liter naturally aspirated inline-4 is actually directly connected to the front wheels, for the most part, is right now cruising at a moderate speed, because that's when gasoline engines are the most efficient, right? Any other time, give it some gas, there we go, the gas engine fires up, revs up. It is effectively sending power to a generator motor that's then sending the power through the front wheels. So gone are the high revs and that VTEC changeover that was so characteristic of the older Preludes. And in exchange, we get torque, 232 pound-feet of torque in a car that weighs only about 3,200 pounds. That's not too bad. What that feels like is just immediate electric torque all of the time. And then if you're just light on the throttle, like right now, it will begin to send via a generator motor some of that energy from the gas engine to the battery. So what you get is 44 miles per gallon, or I mean, I've been getting about 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers, but because of this button right here called S+, it sometimes encourages you to actually drive like you may have an older Prelude. S+, what is it? Well, kind of like the Ioniq 5N, it allows me to rev match the engine. I've got actually some semblance of control, some illusion of control here. There's just not a lot that comes with the torque. There's no reason to rev it out. The sound doesn't get better, the revs, the power doesn't get better. But credit where credit's due. These paddle shifters are awesome. They're way better than what you would find in a Nissan Z. They're actually real metal. The steering wheel, it's a flat bottom steering wheel here. It feels amazing. Ergonomically speaking, it's great. The seats are awesome. We get leather trimmed seats here. We are in a very fuel efficient vehicle, just wasting gas. That's what it feels like. Wow, I have the potential to be getting 44 miles per gallon, and I'm out here just needlessly revving the engine, rev matching an engine that isn't even connected to the front wheels. It's a bit comical, it's a bit funny, but when you just let all that stuff leave your mind, it makes the car more fun than it otherwise would have been. So And this was the tech that Honda is running this car on. This is the marketing for this car, right? In the previous generations of Prelude, that's what it was. It was a grand touring car, a showcase for Honda's new tech at the time. I drove a 3rd gen Prelude, the first mass-produced vehicle with mechanical 4-wheel steering. So the later Preludes also had some pretty good tech. We had, at least in the 5th gen, a real torque vectoring front differential. Of course, all of these Preludes have been front-wheel drive, and that helps so much in the corners, pulling it out. This doesn't have that. It has brake-based torque vectoring, basically. Let's say here we're going on a left-hander, and it will just lightly brake that inside wheel to help us pull through the corner. Oh, the front end's good though. It's got Type R bits. It's got front suspension, dual axis suspension, which isn't quite double wishbone, but it's as close as you can get in a affordable, cost-effective way to reduce torque steer and to get a little bit of that front end bite that the Type R has. It's also got Type R brakes, which in the rear end, you can feel it wagging just a little bit there. Probably the best part about the car is how the brake pedal feels. It's the first thing I noticed is the brake pedal. The brakes are phenomenal. Not only that, but the front end bite, while not quite as sharp as a Honda Civic Type R, will get the rear end light. It is fun to chuck around. I love it here. The steering's sharp. It's got adaptive suspension from the Civic Type R, although of course it's been tuned for grand touring. So it is way more comfortable than a Civic Type R in all scenarios. And it does have 3 drive modes, like I mentioned. They're all softer than the Integra Type S, which I commented was softer than the Civic Type R. So this is absolutely, without question, the grand touring car of the bunch. It's got skinnier tires as well, 235s here all the way around versus 265s on the Integra and the Civic Type R. Takes bumps so well. It's comfortable. I mean, you could forget you're driving anything with sharp Type R parts so quickly, especially if you're cruising. Take it out of S+, the engine shuts off, we're in EV mode, no gas is being used. Then it very quickly becomes a Honda Civic hybrid. The problem is, the powertrain is the first thing you notice about the Prelude, and it's not the greatest. It's not the most engaging. It's got a layer of numbness covering up the rest of the chassis that is so much fun, that has so much potential. A wow car, a car with an exceptional engine, let's say, for example, the LC500 does not have this problem because the first thing you notice is the unbelievable sound of a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8. And that makes you forget, at least for a certain amount of time, the weak points of that car. So instead of all the best parts about the Prelude coming to the surface just on their own, you have to dig past this powertrain in order to find them. And there is a lot to love about this car. All the Type R bits, I mean, the size of this car, they've nailed the packaging of this car. Underneath, they've absolutely nailed the chassis and the way this thing drives. You can get hard on the brakes into a corner, let off at the right time or the wrong time, depending on who you are, and get the rear end real light. There have been moments where I've had to dial in counter steer. And before driving this car, that was not what I was expecting. I was expecting just kind of a Civic hybrid with 2 doors. And it is that, but it is also much more. So yeah, all of those Type R bits help contribute to the Prelude's great handling characteristics, help make it as sharp as it is, but it is not, I assure you, you guys, just a Type R underneath, okay? This wheelbase is about 5 inches shorter than the Type R. It's a lot closer actually to the 5th gen Prelude, that 2001 car, in terms of size. The wheelbase is within 1 inch of that car. Now, I talked about the rear end and how it has a tendency to get light. That in a front wheel drive car can be so much fun, especially in the rain, in the snow. You can get lift off oversteer, and it doesn't have to be a huge problem. Now, it is especially pronounced because it has a 63-37 weight distribution. That means most of that weight is over the front wheels, not even close to a 50-50 weight distribution. So what you get in a car that is also as wide as the Civic Type R, it's about 5 inches in track width wider than the standard Civic. But Honda's priority, it seems here, was to keep the Prelude as true in size to that 5th gen Prelude, to still keep it a compact, tossable, chuckable car, while still, as we'll find out in a second, retaining the qualities of what they're trying to sell here, which is a Grand Tourer. So, of course, it's a hatchback. That's easy enough. And we actually have quite a bit of storage space here. There's nothing really coming into the walls or the back here that make it an awkward shape. It's just straight up a rectangle. And when compared to a much more expensive vehicle I drove recently, the Mercedes-AMG GT63, the rear seats in that car, huge oversight, were not able to fold down. So I can actually fold these down, which make a huge difference. But when I go around to the side here, and let's say I am a passenger and I want to get in the rear seats, well, of course I would move this seat forward and it just stops there. If I want to slide it forward, I actually have to manually go down here. Okay, I managed to slide it forward, but that is so incredibly annoying. And when you get in the back, there's not a whole ton of space. I am not a tall guy. I'm about 5'9", and my neck was cranked, if you can't tell. So if it wasn't obvious already, no power seats here. For the same money, if you jump into a GTI, not a base car, but one step above for about $42,000 or $43,000, the same price as this, you get power seats. The WRX, for the same money, gets power seats. And that's not where it ends, unfortunately. Honda has been parading this as an exciting Grand Touring experience. When have you guys heard of a Grand Touring car without power seats? Not only that, but there is no adjustable lumbar here. It's not even an option. And there's no heated steering wheel. That's a big problem. The attention to detail in here is great. The red and blue stitching maybe wouldn't be my first choice, but it looks awesome. The seats, like I mentioned, are perfect aside from the missing lumbar. Everything feels just a cut above a Civic Hybrid, dare I say, Acura. It is significantly more comfortable than a standard Civic Hybrid in here. A touchscreen here with Google integrated. It's quick. It's easy to use, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless as standard, and a digital gauge cluster. Honda hasn't gotten rid of our physical climate control buttons just yet. Those are just as satisfying as they've always been to use. Heated seats are standard. We get wireless charging and an 8-speaker Bose audio system. It's really a shame because the Prelude is a ton of fun when you get past that first initial layer of numbness from the powertrain. There is so much to love about this chassis, how it handles, how it feels. Not only that, but also just how easy it is to drive on a daily basis. I could easily see myself driving this across the country. That's not the problem. I think a lot of these problems stem from the expectations, but I don't think Honda knew that they kind of hit on the pain points of the enthusiast community at large, not just the people who may or may not have owned the Prelude to begin with, the people who this name actually meant something to. So that's where a lot of this negative reaction came from. I don't know how many of you have actually driven a previous generation Prelude, but this feels like a spiritual successor, just with less research and development and less passion, for lack of a better term, pumped into it. The Prelude's biggest problem is the price, $42,000 US or 50,000 Canadian. For the same money, you can get a Nissan Z, and that has double the amount of horsepower, a manual transmission, and rear-wheel drive. Now, for less money, you can get a GR86, a GR Corolla, a GTI, or in Honda's own ecosystem, an Acura Integra with a manual transmission, more space in the back. That is if you're focusing maybe on the daily drivability of the Prelude. If you're looking to have a good time, those other cars that Honda does not want you to compare the Prelude with make a little bit more sense. Would I love to drive this on a daily basis? Yes. Would I buy one of these? Absolutely not. But would I buy a Honda Civic Hybrid Coupe? yes. Now, before we go, I asked you guys on Instagram both what you thought about this Prelude, but also if you had any questions. So, Eliza says, was it worth it, Honda? We'll have to wait and see. Like I said, I don't think this is gonna see a second generation or even a mid-cycle refresh, but time will tell. Now, Timepiece Demi says, underpowered, poor execution on bringing back a legend. I somewhat disagree. I don't think the Prelude was ever really a legend. There were so many other 90s cars that were brought to the forefront in a way that the Prelude never was. And I agree, the name, the expectation of the name brought it down a little bit, but I never thought the Prelude was a legend in the first place. Keenan says, Daddy Doug said the biggest problem with the new Lude is the price. Too little car for the money. Yes, correct. I agree with that assessment. Ramdas Hoda says, why would you buy a Prelude when you can buy a Golf R for the same money? Well, that's not really true. The Golf R for the 2026 model year costs about $6,000 or $7,000 US more than this, about $10,000 Canadian more than this. And that's because the Golf R is no longer available in any other trims besides the top spec. So it's not really in competition in price at all. It is significantly more expensive than the Prelude. 99 Front says, does VTEC kick in, yo? No, not at all. Georgie Pope, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, should have been faster. A Prius is not less cool right now. A Prius is still less cool than the Prelude. The Prius looks really good, don't get me wrong, but the Prius has a name that screams uncool, whereas the Prelude, at least it has a name that screams cool, no matter what this new car has underneath.